Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine
What's
a light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney, focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe Spotlight Sessions, we are joined by Sumiko Martinez, the Director of Autism After 21 Utah Blueprint Initiative at the Madison House Autism Foundation. Welcome, Sumiko.
Hi, Josh. Thanks so much for having me on today.
I'm excited to have you on, so let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, as you said, my name's Sumiko Martinez, and I'm the Director of Autism After 21 Utah at Madison House. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a white woman with long brown hair and glasses. Today I'm wearing a sort of bright fuchsia sweater. I'm a self-described humanities nerd with a real thing for actionable data and community building, and I love hammocks and motorcycles.
Love that. And tell us a little bit more about Madison House.
Yeah, so Madison House Autism Foundation is one of the few organizations focused on supporting autistic adults after age 21 throughout the lifespan. Our mission is to promote, model, and advocate for the full inclusion of autistic adults and their families in every aspect of life in our communities. So under that mission, we focus on providing resources and building collaborations with partners to increase inclusion strategies.
That's awesome. And then as the Director of Autism After 21 Utah Blueprint Initiative, tell us more about that.
Yes, so we have this major project underway in Utah to pilot this process that other states and municipalities could use to build more inclusive communities. So we're working with autistic self-advocates, family members, community leaders, businesses, policymakers, and other organizational partners statewide to collect data on everything from housing needs to barriers to employment, beliefs about the autism community, what people want for recreational opportunities, and really just looking at every aspect of what everyday life is, and how we can make it more autism friendly in our communities from the ground up. So we're taking that data, which hasn't existed until now, and bringing it around to communities at a series of meetings with people in those local communities, right? They know their places best. They know what they need. And so our goal is to leverage that data to help people make the changes that they want to see. So we're working with a network of organizations to track the outcomes from those strategies, and then write it up into a blueprint so other people can learn from the successes and the mistakes, and hopefully ease that learning curve for other places.
Do you have a goal or a date in mind when the publication might be out there?
Our initial report from the study is going to be out later this month. April is Autism Acceptance Month, so that's a big month for us. And that's going to be the results from our initial study, which was both a survey and interview components. And then we're going to be holding those meetings around the data over the next probably year to year and a half, and really working with communities to see where they want to take it.
That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what motivated you personally to become a part of the foundation?
So two key things really motivated me. The first was a chance to help make my community better, a little bit better for a group that's really under-recognized and really underserved. And the other half of it was very self-motivated, and I love doing research and I love community outreach. And so this has been an amazing chance for me to put together two of my favorite types of work in the service of something greater. And it's been a real huge learning curve for me, but fantastically rewarding.
It is a perfect match, I think. So I love that. And tell us a memorable moment, event with the foundation that's kind of had a lasting impact with you.
Yeah. So one of the other pieces we're working on is a series of housing studies to really dig deep on what people need for housing. We know that that's a key social determinant of health, and it's really foundational to being able to thrive wherever you are. And as part of this study, we ran a focus group with youth who were experiencing homelessness, who identify as neurodivergent, so they could tell us from their own experiences, what was important to them, what does their dream house look like, what are the barriers that are keeping them in a difficult situation, what are the things that maybe could have prevented them from landing there in the first place. And it was a profound experience for me on so many levels. The honesty and the candor that the participants brought to the table was really humbling for people to just take the time and like the, energetic resources out of an already difficult period of their lives to share their insights with us. It was really, really moving. And one of the things that has stuck with me is one of the participants, she was talking about a time where she had been offered a choice that wasn't really much of a choice. She was offered a housing unit that didn't really meet, sort of basic sanitary standards that anyone would expect in their housing. She was basically given the choice between, like, you can live in this cockroach infested unit or you can not receive housing. And what she said was, it's not really fair to say, well, you can take this place or you don't get housed, because that makes me think, hey, maybe the streets aren't so bad. And that was just, it squeezed my heart. And it really resonated with me. A lot of the time we think of these things like housing shortage as just a problem to be solved. Like we can tackle this from different angles. We can fix the system. But it was a moment where it really crystallized for me on a human level, because it means so much more to people, right? Having a house that you can truly be comfortable in, that is accessible to you. It is a way of feeling recognized and valued and supported in your community. And it reaffirms that every person is inherently worthy of clean, cognitively and physically accessible, supportive living to help them thrive in every area of their lives. And that was just, I think I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
That is a powerful moment, and to have to be forced to choose between those two options, it's so tough. And people with disabilities, day in, day out, if you have to make these type of decisions because of government support programs where they need them to survive.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they choose to survive before thriving, but even there with cock and breasted, but that's not a great way to survive, which is kind of scary. And when I finished law school and I became employed, I then had to choose between either maintaining employment or my caregiving. The state was like, you can't have both. So we ended up fighting it and winning, but it's like the choices that people with disabilities have to make just to stay in the community. It's tough.
It is. It's unfair seems like too small of a word to describe it. But talk about an area that we as a society really need to level up. It's ridiculous to ask anyone to make a choice like that.
We can do better. And I love asking this next question, but what does accessibility mean to you?
So for me, accessibility is recognizing that every single one of us has unique needs that have to be met in order for us to survive and thrive, right? We don't want to just be surviving. So I think it's a holistic way of looking at each of us as human beings, and individuals, and then sort of zooming out and designing macro systems that allow us to all get what we need in order to access whatever it is. If it's supports, if it's, if it's community elements, if it's things like getting into and out of a building. I think the principles of universal design are really inspirational. I first learned about that in my graduate education when I was taking a pedagogy class. And we had a challenge to create a universally designed cyber class. This was a long time ago when they still called it cyber pedagogy. But I think that with some creative work, we can apply those universal design principles to every aspect of our lives and our communities, and make it so that accessibility is the default for everyone all the time.
I love how technical you get. It's a great approach, and it's you really need to be technical to do this right in so many ways. But what's one thing you wish people knew about autistic people that they do not know?
I think the one thing to know is that if you've met one person with autism, then you've met one person with autism. Yes. It's a popular saying in the autism community. And I think it's a real reflection that each individual has their own unique set of challenges and abilities. And to think of it more as a spectrum and like one of those round color wheel spectrums instead of just a line spectrum. And just really acknowledging how much diversity exists within autism for autistic people. So one person might have high support needs with motor functioning, but have no problem with social skills. And another individual might have challenges with socializing or sensory overload, like too much noise or bright lights, but then have no problems with motor coordination. So just really understanding that each individual is unique and not to go nuts with overgeneralization.
Well said. Well said. And if we could do one bit more to make the world a more inclusive place, what could that be?
I think it would be to seek out and really listen to the voices of autistic adults and others who are left out of these conversations. The tagline, nothing about us without us. I think that's actually a really foundational principle to the American psyche, right? And it's an easy way to remember to include all those perspectives. And then hand in hand with that, I think it's really key for neurotypical folks to do the internal work to gracefully be able to accept criticism from the autistic community, and recognize that it's a gift that helps us move further along the path to inclusion. If we can take the time to really acknowledge that criticism as productive rather than reacting to it negatively.
I love it. And what are some of the biggest current gaps with businesses prioritizing access and inclusion?
I think there's a lot of appetite right now for diversity and inclusion and making sure that disabled folks are able to access the business world, be that employment or services. But there's not always a lot of knowledge on how to execute it well. So I think it's a good time to have these conversations and capitalize on that eagerness to really bring this knowledge to a whole new sector. And it gives us the ability to really broaden the platform for a lot of people. This is actually one of the things we're researching right now in our Utah pilot project, is how we can help with that, basically. How we can take the data from autistic individuals and family members and get that into the hands of people who can really use that to make a difference in their businesses, in their communities. So it's a really exciting time for that.
Absolutely. And it's just so important with businesses to give them the tools, but then let them continue the conversation internally. Because the more they talk about it, all of a sudden the culture, the DNA of the business starts to get it more. It's a more natural conversation.
Absolutely.
But I want to end by asking you, what do you wish brands and businesses did more around kind of the whole everything regarding access and inclusion?
Yes. So I think I want to see everybody getting in on this conversation and learning from other places who are doing things successfully. Sharing knowledge and sharing data is one of our biggest potential strengths as human beings. And I think it's something we don't always do really well. We tend to like to, keep things to ourselves sometimes. So I would love to see more places, particularly in Utah, where our project is, join us with this Autism After 21 Utah project, get in on these conversations, come get access to the data, and let's share best practices for inclusion here in our state, listening to and centering the voices of autistic adults who are most at the center of this and most impacted.
All right, everybody make sure we get these data out there in Utah. Get all your friends, any businesses let's make this happen. But
Yes.
Really, Sumiko, thank you so much for being our guest today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
I really appreciate it. It was great talking with you.
You as well. And for all of our guests, thank you so much for staying to the end of accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiBe_community. And until next time, thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.